Providence, Rhode Island, Thursday, November 7th, 2024. The morning arrives cold and gray, the kind of November morning where the wind off Narragansett Bay doesn't just cut through a heavy coat, it announces that something in the city feels off. By 8:45, the usual crowd has already gathered outside the municipal courthouse. A UPS driver gripping a red light camera ticket like it personally betrayed him. A college student who parked in a loading zone while hauling groceries up to her grandmother's apartment. A restaurant owner arguing over a health code violation he swears was fixed weeks ago. These are the people who fill Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom every Thursday. Working people, honest people, people who know the law applies to them and who show up because that's what you do when your name is called, even when life is inconvenient, unfair, or tight. At 8:53, the routine fractures. A black Mercedes S-Class with diplomatic plates glides into the restricted parking zone directly in front of the courthouse entrance, slipping into the space like it owns the ground beneath it. The engine idles. No one gets out. The security guard, a retired Providence police sergeant named Tom Valdez, steps toward the vehicle and taps on the driver's window. The glass lowers exactly 2 inches. A voice from inside, young, male, polished with British boarding school diction layered over something Eastern European, delivers 3 quiet, confident words, "I'm parking here." The window rises. The engine keeps humming. Tom Valdez stands there for a moment, his breath fogging in the November air, then shakes his head and walks back to his post. 11 years on this job have taught him to recognize when a storm isn't worth stopping, and when one is about to break. Inside the courthouse, clerk Patricia Harmon is arranging the morning docket. 23 cases. Minor traffic violations mostly. A few small claims disputes. Nothing unusual. Nothing that should take more than 3 hours. She's been doing this for 26 years. She can predict the rhythm of a Thursday morning the way a farmer can predict rain. But when she reaches case number 2024 TR 1M18447, she pauses, reads it twice, then picks up the phone and calls the bailiff's office. "We might need extra security today," she says quietly. Just a feeling. At exactly 9 o'clock, Judge Frank Caprio enters through the door behind the bench. He's 78 years old. He's been sitting on this bench for 43 years. He's seen everything, heard everything. He's watched this city change, watched families grow up, watched generations of the same people make the same mistakes, and sometimes, not often, but sometimes, learn from them. He settles into his chair, adjusts his reading glasses, and nods to Patricia. "Good morning, everyone," he says to the gallery. His voice is warm, grandfatherly, the voice of someone who genuinely cares about the people in front of him. Let's begin. The first case is the UPS driver. Ran a red light on Westminster Street at 6 in the morning. The camera caught him clear as day, but he explains respectfully, apologetically, that he was rushing to the hospital because his wife had gone into labor 5 weeks early. Judge Caprio listens, looks at the timestamp on the citation, pulls up the birth records on his computer. The baby was born at 6:27 a.m. The ticket was issued at 6:04 a.m. "Congratulations on your daughter," Judge Caprio says, smiling. "Case dismissed. Drive safely." The man nearly cries with relief. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you." The second case is the college student. She's 19, a sophomore at Providence College, working 2 jobs to pay tuition because her parents make just enough money that she doesn't qualify for financial aid, but not enough to actually pay for school. She parked illegally because the groceries were heavy and her grandmother can't do stairs anymore. Judge Caprio asks about the grandmother. The girl pulls out her phone, shows him a photo. An elderly woman in a wheelchair, smiling, holding the girl's hand. "How much is the fine?" Judge Caprio asks the clerk. $75, Your Honor." He thinks for a moment, reduced to $15. "And next time, call ahead. We have volunteers who do grocery delivery for seniors. You shouldn't have to choose between helping your grandmother and following the law." The girl's voice breaks when she says, "Thank you." This is how the morning goes. Case after case. Small problems in ordinary lives. Judge Caprio dispenses justice the way a good doctor dispenses medicine. Carefully, personally, with attention to the human being in front of him, not just the violation. By 10:15, they've moved through 18 cases. The rhythm is smooth. The room is calm. And then Patricia Harmon calls case number 2024 TR 11-1847. The double doors at the back of the courtroom open. Every head turns. A young man enters, and the temperature in the room seems to drop 5 degrees. He is 24 years old, though he carries himself with the supreme confidence of someone who has never been told no in his entire life. His suit is Savile Row, probably $12,000, tailored so precisely that it looks like it was painted onto his body. His shoes are Berluti, hand-stitched, worth more than most people in this courtroom make in a month. His watch is a Richard Mille, the kind of watch that costs as much as a house. He walks the way royalty walks, not rushed, not slow, simply entitled to whatever space he chooses to occupy. Behind him, 2 men in dark suits follow at a respectful distance. One carries a leather briefcase. The other carries nothing and says nothing. His job is simply to be present, to remind people that this young man is not alone, that this young man is protected. The gallery goes quiet, not the friendly quiet of people waiting their turn, the uncomfortable quiet of people who sense they are witnessing something they shouldn't have to witness. Something that doesn't belong in a place where a UPS driver gets his ticket dismissed for rushing to see his newborn daughter. Something that violates the fundamental promise of this room, that everyone is equal here. The young man reaches the defendant's table and doesn't sit. He stands, arms crossed, looking at Judge Caprio the way someone might look at a particularly slow waiter. Patricia Harmon clears her throat. Her voice wavers slightly. The first time in 26 years that Judge Caprio has heard her sound uncertain. Case number 2024 TR 11-1847. The state of Rhode Island versus Dmitry Volkov. Charges include reckless driving, vehicular assault, leaving the scene of an accident with injuries, and driving under the influence. Incident occurred October 19, 2024, at approximately 10:47 p.m., intersection of Thayer Street and Waterman in the College Hill neighborhood. Dmitry Volkov doesn't react, doesn't move, simply stands there, radiating the kind of boredom that only the truly privileged can achieve. Judge Caprio looks up from the file, removes his glasses, studies the young man standing before him. "Mr. Volkov," he says, his voice neutral, calm. "Do you understand the charges against you?" For a moment, Dmitry doesn't respond. Then, slowly, deliberately, he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out his phone, unlocks it, begins scrolling. The gesture is so casually disrespectful that the bailiff takes an involuntary step forward. Judge Caprio raises one hand slightly. Wait. 5 seconds pass. 7, 10. The entire courtroom watches as this 24-year-old in his $12,000 suit ignores a judge who has served this city since before Dmitry was born, ignores the law, ignores the very concept that anyone has authority over him. Finally, without looking up, Dmitry speaks. "This is a waste of time," he says. His accent is Muscovite, softened by years at Oxford, but still unmistakably Russian. "I don't know why I was told to come here. I have diplomatic immunity. I am not subject to American law. This court has no jurisdiction over me." He says it the way someone might say the sky is blue. A simple fact. Not arrogant, not defensive, simply true. Judge Caprio sets his glasses down on the bench, folds his hands. "I see," he says quietly. "And you believe that diplomatic immunity means you can injure someone, and simply walk away. Now Dmitri looks up, really looks at Judge Caprio for the first time, and his expression makes it clear what he sees. An old man in an old building in a small city that doesn't matter. I don't believe anything, Dmitri says. My father is the deputy ambassador from the Russian Federation to the United Nations. I am a member of his household. The Vienna Convention is very clear. You cannot touch me. The words hang in the air like smoke. In the third row of the gallery, a young woman's hands tighten into fists. Her name is Sarah Mitchell. She is 22 years old. She was a senior at Brown University, captain of the cross-country team, on track to graduate summa cum laude with a degree in neuroscience. She had a job lined up at Johns Hopkins. She had a future so bright that her professors wrote letters of recommendation calling her one of the most promising students they'd ever taught. She was crossing Thayer Street on the evening of October 19th, coming back from the library, when a silver Audi RS7 ran a red light at 70 miles per hour and sent her flying 15 feet through the air. She woke up in the hospital 4 days later. The doctors told her that her left leg was shattered in 7 places, that she would need 3 surgeries, that she would likely never run again, that the scholarship she'd earned for graduate school, a full ride based on her athletic and academic achievements, was gone because she could no longer compete. Her medical bills currently exceed $200,000. Her parents are teachers. They don't have that kind of money. She started a GoFundMe. It's raised $8,000. She watches Dmitri Volkov stand at the defendant's table in his $12,000 suit, and she feels something inside her break all over again. Judge Caprio picks up the case file. It's thick. 47 pages. Police reports, witness statements, medical records, photographs that he's already looked at 3 times because he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. He opens to a page marked with a yellow tab, reads it silently, then looks up. Mr. Volkov, he says, on the night of October 19th, you were driving a silver Audi RS7 westbound on Thayer Street. Is that correct? Dmitri sighs, looks at his phone again. I'm not confirming anything. I don't have to talk to you. The vehicle is registered to the Russian Federation's diplomatic motor pool. Judge Caprio continues, as if Dmitri hadn't spoken. Witness statements place you behind the wheel. Traffic cameras captured images of the vehicle running a red light at a high rate of speed. And dashcam footage from a Providence police cruiser shows you fleeing the scene of the accident. Allegedly, Dmitri says, still scrolling on his phone. Judge Caprio nods slowly. Allegedly, he repeats. Let's look at what is not alleged. Let's look at what is a fact. He turns to the court monitor, nods to the AV technician. The screen flickers to life. The footage is from a business security camera across the street from the intersection. The timestamp reads 10/19/2024, 22:47:03. The image quality is grainy but clear enough. A young woman, Sarah Mitchell, though you can't see her face clearly, steps into the crosswalk. The light is green for pedestrians. She's looking down at her phone, probably texting, the way every college student walks through the world. She's in the middle of the crosswalk when the silver Audi appears from the left side of the frame, moving so fast it's almost a blur. The impact is silent on the security footage, but everyone in the courtroom can hear it anyway. Can hear the sound that haunts Sarah's nightmares every single night. The sound of metal hitting bone. The sound of a future ending. Sarah's body lifts into the air, turns, falls, lies motionless. The Audi's brake lights flash once. The car fishtails. And then it accelerates away. Judge Caprio lets the footage play for another 10 seconds. Lets everyone watch as bystanders rush to Sarah's broken body, as someone kneels beside her, pulling out a phone to call 911, as a pool of blood begins to spread on the pavement beneath her shattered leg. Then he stops the video. The frozen image on the screen shows Sarah's face, turned toward the camera, her mouth open in what might be a scream or might be nothing at all, just shock, just the moment when a human mind tries to process something it was never designed to process. That young woman, Judge Caprio says, his voice very quiet, is Sarah Mitchell. She is sitting in this courtroom right now. She is 22 years old. She was 3 months away from graduating from one of the best universities in this country. She had been offered a full scholarship to Johns Hopkins for her PhD. She was a Division I athlete. She had a future that most people only dream about. He pauses, removes his glasses, rubs the bridge of his nose. The doctors have told her she will never run again. The scholarship is gone. The job offer has been withdrawn. Her medical bills exceed $200,000. Her parents are mortgaging their house to pay for her care. He looks directly at Dmitry Volkov. And you drove away. Dmitry finally puts down his phone. But when he speaks, his voice hasn't changed. No shame, no remorse, just irritation. Your Honor, he says, and the title sounds like an insult in his mouth. With all due respect, I don't know what you expect me to say. I have immunity. My father owns... He catches himself, adjusts. My father is a senior diplomat. This court has no authority over me. I was advised by legal counsel not to make any statements. Your father owns what? Judge Caprio says. His voice hasn't risen, but something in it has changed. Something has gone cold. Dmitry realizes his mistake, but instead of backing down, he doubles down, because men like Dmitry Volkov don't know how to back down. My father's position means I am protected, he says. This is not arrogance. This is international law. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, Article 37. I am a member of the administrative and technical staff of the mission. I have full immunity from criminal jurisdiction. Judge Caprio nods slowly. I've read the Vienna Convention, he says. Several times, in fact, since your case came across my desk. Would you like to know what else I've read? He picks up another document. This one is stamped with multiple official seals. This is a communication from the United States Department of State Office of Foreign Missions, dated November 4th, 2024. 3 days ago. It was delivered to this court by federal courier. He begins to read. To the Honorable Court. After thorough review of the incident involving Mr. Dmitry Volkov on October 19, 2024, the Department of State has determined that Mr. Volkov's actions fall outside the scope of official duties and do not merit immunity protection under international law. Furthermore, the Russian Federation's embassy has been formally notified that the United States government considers this matter a criminal case subject to local jurisdiction. The embassy has been requested to waive immunity. They have declined. However, the State Department has determined that Mr. Volkov does not, in fact, hold the level of diplomatic status he claims. Judge Caprio looks up. Lets that sink in. Dmitry's face has gone pale. That's impossible, he says. My father, your father, Judge Caprio interrupts gently, submitted a personnel roster to the State Department in 2023 when he was first posted to New York. That roster lists you as a dependent family member, not as administrative staff, not as technical staff, as a dependent, which means, Mr. Volkov, that you have no immunity whatsoever. The silence that follows is absolute. 30 seconds. 40. One of the men in suits behind Dmitry, the one with the briefcase, steps forward. Your Honor, we would like to request a recess to consult with... Denied, Judge Caprio says. He hasn't taken his eyes off Dmitry. We're going to finish this right now. He picks up another document. This one is handwritten. 3 pages. The paper is expensive, creamy, with a watermark that catches the light. This letter, Judge Caprio says, was delivered to my chambers this morning by a courier from the Russian embassy. It is from your father. Dmitry's eyes go wide. You can't read that. That's private correspondence. Your father sent it to this court, Judge Caprio says. It's evidence, and I'm going to read it out loud. He begins. To Judge Caprio, I write to you, not as a diplomat, but as a father. I write to you with shame I cannot adequately express. My son injured an innocent young woman and fled like a coward. He has spent the week since hiding behind my position, behind laws designed to protect diplomats conducting official business, not reckless children who believe wealth and status place them above consequences. I did not raise him to be this person. His mother, God rest her soul, did not sacrifice everything to give him opportunities so he could waste them on arrogance and cruelty. I cannot officially waive his immunity without authorization from Moscow, which I know will not come. But I can tell you this. My son deserves no protection. My son deserves to face the full weight of American justice. I have failed him as a father. I beg this court not to fail him as well. The letter trembles slightly in Judge Caprio's hands as he sets it down. Dmitry Volkov is no longer looking bored. He's staring at the bench, his mouth slightly open, his perfect posture finally broken. Your father loves you, Judge Caprio says quietly. Enough to tell the truth. Even when it costs him. Even when it humiliates him. That's what a real father does. He pauses. Let's Dmitry process that. Now, I'm going to ask you one more time. And I want you to think very carefully about your answer. Not about immunity, not about lawyers, not about what you think you can get away with. I want you to think about the young woman sitting in the third row, the one whose life you destroyed, the one you left bleeding in the street. He leans forward. Do you have anything to say to Sarah Mitchell? And Dmitry Volkov, 24 years old, heir to nothing but his father's shame, finally breaks. His hands are shaking. His perfect hair, gelled and styled, falls across his forehead as his head drops. His $12,000 suit suddenly looks like a costume, like something a child put on to play dress-up as an adult. I'm sorry, he whispers. The words are barely audible. I'm so sorry. Judge Caprio doesn't respond. He simply nods toward the gallery, toward Sarah. Don't tell me, he says. Tell her. Dmitry turns. Slowly, looks across the courtroom at Sarah Mitchell, sitting in her wheelchair. Her left leg in a brace, her crutches leaning against the bench beside her. Their eyes meet. And something happens that no one in that room will ever forget. Dmitry Volkov walks across the courtroom. Past the bailiff who tenses but doesn't stop him. Past the prosecutor who opens her mouth and closes it again and stands in front of Sarah Mitchell. And then, just as his father's letter said he should have done weeks ago, he kneels. I am so sorry, he says again. Tears are streaming down his face now. I was drunk. I was scared. I thought I could make it disappear. I thought my father could make it disappear. I was wrong. I destroyed your life because I'm a coward. Sarah stares down at him. Her jaw is tight. Her hands grip the armrests of her wheelchair so hard her knuckles have gone white. For a long moment she doesn't speak, can't speak. The entire courtroom holds its breath. Then finally she says, You're right. You did destroy my life. I'll never run again. I'll never go to Johns Hopkins. I'll be in debt for the next 20 years, paying for surgeries you could pay for with your watch. She pauses, her voice cracks. But I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I'm going to find a way forward, not because you deserve my forgiveness, but because I deserve my future, even if it's not the future I planned. She doesn't forgive him. She doesn't have to. Forgiveness isn't owed, it's earned, but she sees him, really sees him, and in that seeing, something shifts. Judge Caprio lets the moment exist. Then gently, he says, Mr. Volkov, return to the defendant's table. Dmitry stands, walks back. His lawyers are whispering furiously, but he ignores them. Dmitry Volkov, Judge Caprio says, I find you guilty of all charges. Reckless driving, vehicular assault, driving under the influence, leaving the scene of an accident with injuries. These crimes carry a potential sentence of up to 15 years in prison. He pauses, lets that number hang in the air. However, I am not going to send you to prison. I am going to give you a choice. You can accept the following sentence, or you can reject it and face trial. The choice is yours. He lists the terms: full restitution to Sarah Mitchell, $250,000 for medical expenses, pain and suffering, and lost educational opportunities, 1,000 hours of community service at Rhode Island Hospital, working directly with accident victims, permanent surrender of driving privileges in the United States, 5 years probation. And one more thing. You will create a foundation in Sarah Mitchell's name, the Sarah Mitchell Scholarship Fund. You will endow it with $5 million. It will provide full scholarships to students who have suffered life-changing injuries but refuse to give up on their education. It will exist long after both of us are gone. It will be your legacy, not your father's money, not your mother's name, yours. Dimitri doesn't hesitate. I accept all of it. Judge Caprio brings down the gavel. Then we're done here. Court is adjourned. As people file out, Dimitri approaches Sarah one more time. I meant what I said, he tells her. I'm sorry, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the chance your courage just gave me. Sarah looks at him for a long moment, then nods. Once. It's not forgiveness, but it's acknowledgement. It's enough. 6 months later, the Sarah Mitchell Scholarship Fund awarded its first grant. Sarah Mitchell herself, despite everything, enrolled in a different PhD program, not Johns Hopkins, but she's there, still fighting, still learning, still refusing to let one terrible night define her entire life. And Dmitri Volkov? He shows up at Rhode Island Hospital every Saturday. He works with accident victims. He listens to their stories. He's learning what his father tried to teach him with that letter. That true strength isn't found in what you can get away with. It's found in what you choose to be accountable for. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment. Sometimes it's about transformation. Sometimes it's about looking at another human being, really looking, and choosing to see their humanity instead of your privilege. Judge Frank Caprio understood that. He always has. If this story moved you, if you believe that accountability matters more than immunity, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the law isn't just rules. It's a promise that we're all equal, even diplomats' sons, especially diplomats' sons.